Today we are making one of the greatest foods in South America, beef empanadas. For me, empanadas smell like Sunday. That smell of beef, onion, cumin, oregano, and pastry baking in the oven. It immediately takes me back home. I've been obsessed with empanadas for decades, especially after living in Australia for the past 16 years. Because every time I cook them, they transport me back home. But at the same time, I'm creating new memories and traditions with my own kids. And that's what I love about food. It connects generations. Now, there are many types of empanadas. Every country has their own version. Every region has its own style. And every family has their own recipe. But in essence, an empanada is beautifully simple. Dough filled with something delicious. It could be cheese, seafood, meat, veggies, or even something sweet. Today, I'm making the one I grew up eating. A classic beef empanada, inspired in the empanadas of the central part of Chile and Argentina. A slow-cooked beef, onion, cumin, oregano, a piece of boiled egg, and black olives, all wrapped in handmade dough and fried or baked until golden. And let me tell you, this is one of the best empanadas you will ever try, seriously. There are a few little secrets in this recipe that will make a massive difference. So let's get cooking! Hi, if we haven't met, I am Papa Mau. I'm here to encourage and help people move away from non-stick cookware so we can cook better food, care for the people we love, and use cookware that lasts. Empanadas have two main chapters, the filling and the dough. And ideally, you want to make the filling one day in advance. That gives the flavors time to settle, mature, and become something really special. So we'll start with the filling. For this recipe, you will need 1 kilo of onion, chopped into small cubes, 500 grams of beef. You can use ground beef from the supermarket, but if you want to go more traditional, you can cut the beef into small cubes using a knife. That's as traditional as it gets. A teaspoon of ground cumin, 2 teaspoons of dry oregano, 2 teaspoons of paprika, 2 teaspoons of salt, and 100 milliliters of vegetable oil. Now, this is a slow cook, so ideally you want to use cast iron or a thick carbon steel pan. Today, I'm using my own 30 centimeters Yagan prototype, and honestly, this is exactly the kind of job this pan was designed for. We are going to cook the onion first, slowly, over low heat for exactly 40 minutes. And this part is very important. You are not trying to brown the onion hard. You are trying to cook it down until it becomes soft, sweet, silky, and almost creamy. So watch it closely. Don't let it alone. Stir regularly and keep adding small amounts of water as needed. Never let the onion go dry, because if it catches and burns, that bitterness will go through the whole filling. And believe me, that's not what we want. After exactly 40 minutes, you can set an alarm, you add the beef, and then you cook for another 40 minutes using exactly the same process. Low heat, stir often, add water as much as needed. You want the filling to stay juicy and creamy all the time. This is the texture we are looking for. Not a dry lump of mince, not something that feels like a burger. A proper empanada filling should be soft, silky, rich, and juicy. And this is what is gonna separate your empanadas from the rest. Even in South America, you go to shops and sometimes their empanadas are dry, right? No, this is something different, and this is the heart of your empanada. So pay attention and follow the instructions. Now, a little secret. At the end of the cooking, so at minute 80, I like to add 1 spoon of flour and cook it for another 5 minutes. This helps thicken the filling and absorb some of the liquid, which gives your empanadas a much better texture when they bake or when they fry. Just make sure you sift the flour in or sprinkle it gently through a strainer so you don't get lumps. Once the filling is ready, let it cool and then store it in the fridge overnight. Now let's make the dough. I've tried many empanada doughs over the years. This is a little bit like pizzas, right? Like it's a journey, a quest until you find the right one. This is the right one. This is when I stopped looking for empanadas doughs. For the dough, you will need 1 kilogram of plain flour, 20 grams of salt, 375 milliliters of boiling water, and it has to be boiling water, not warm, not cold, boiling. 130 grams of melted fat. Beef tallow or pork fat is best. You can technically substitute it for butter, but honestly, it's not the same. Believe me, this will make a big difference as well. In my opinion, go fat or go home. I leave it to you to decide. But try to get real fat in your dough and it's gonna be a lot better. Another one, 100 milliliters of white wine. I don't know why, this may change the pH of the dough, but it makes a big difference. Don't skip the wine. And 1 egg. Start by mixing the flour and the salt. Traditionally, you make something called salmuera, which is basically salted water. But today, to keep things simple, I'm mixing the salt directly onto the flour. Then add the melted hot fat and about half of the boiling water. Then you add the white wine, this is cold, and then you add the egg. Once the egg is incorporated, slowly add the rest of the hot water. I'm using a KitchenAid because it makes my life a lot easier, but you can absolutely do this by hand. Just be very careful because the fat and the boiling water make this dough very, very hot. Keep mixing until the dough is no longer sticky and starts to feel smooth and elastic. Then form it into a ball, cover it and let it rest for at least 30 minutes. You want to work this dough while still warm, but it has to rest for 30 minutes at least. Now for the dough discs, you really have two options. One is rolling the whole dough into a sheet of around 2.5 millimeters thick and then use a plate to cut the discs, right? As a reference, like the Chilean empanada traditionally is around 18 centimeters, 18 to even 20 centimeters of diameter discs, big discs. In Argentina, they are smaller. Try with around 14 centimeter diameter discs. The other option is going with the ball. Just make the ball and then you weight the ball. That's going to give you the size. And then you roll it until you get to the desired thickness. Chilean empanadas are usually quite big. To have an idea, a ball of dough of around 100 grams is the traditional size of a Chilean empanada. If you want a smaller Argentinian style empanadas, try with around 60 grams of dough. Both require a little bit of practice. They're not too difficult. You may be slow at the beginning, but with practice you get them done quickly. Now it's time to assemble. So I like to put the empanada discs in the counter and add the filling with a spoon. Then I add a small piece of boiled egg and add the olive. Also, it's very popular to add raisins into empanadas. I personally don't like raisins, so I don't do it, but traditionally empanadas have raisins as well. Another little secret. I like to use egg yolk as the glue around the edge before you fold them. That helps seal the empanada and stops it opening in the oven or in the pan when you are frying. Because if an empanada opens while you're cooking, it's a complete disaster. When the empanadas open, when you're frying them, you get splatters everywhere and it could even be dangerous, like they could explode on your face. When they open in the oven, the filling, the juices cover the whole floor of your tray and all your empanadas go soggy, right? So really, This is a critical part of making good empanadas. Close them, press them, the sides really well, and that's going to guarantee success. Another important tip that is related is to not overfill the empanadas. I know it's tempting, but in this case, less is more. A slightly underfilled empanada will bake better or fry better. They will look better and they will not explode. Fold the empanada over and seal the edge well. Then you have two options here. The Chilean folding is quite simple, and the other option is the Argentinian one. Now, traditionally in Chile, the folded ones go into the oven, and the ones with the finger roll, I don't know really the technical words in English for describe this, they are deep fried, but this is really your personal preference, how you seal them, how you fold them, okay? Another tip, when the empanadas are ready, if they go to the oven, you want to cook them, if you want to bake them, I like to brush the tops with egg wash. Some people make a mix with the egg yolk and a little bit of milk, or you can add a little bit of water to make it runny, or just use plain egg yolk. That's what I'm using here. That's gonna give you a golden and beautiful color to your empanadas. This is the tradition more in Chile. In Argentina, they bake them more plain, naked, but again, you pick your style. If you wanna bake your empanadas, I go with a 200 Celsius preheated oven. In 20 minutes, they should be ready. Now, to stop these beauties from sticking to the tray, here's another little pro tip. A very light film of oil, then the tiniest dusting of flour on top, and works beautifully. Oh my God! This is probably the best empanada I've ever tried. No joke. Unreal. Chimichurri on top. Heaven. Better than back home. And that's it. I hope you give this one a go. And if you do, let me know in the comments. And if you are from South America and you're already making empanadas, are you familiar with this recipe? Do you do something different? Would you change anything? And if you give it a go, let me know. I'll see you in the next one.